Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I got a Lyman's Great Plains rifle in 50 caliber. This is a reproduction of a Hawken rifle. They were made uh, in the early 1800s. I think Samuel and Jacob Hawken had come out with the original design, and they had run their company. These were not mass-produced guns. They were all handmade at the time by those two, the originals. And I believe later in the 1800s, one of them had gotten sick. I think the brother had run it for a while, and then they had sold the company off, and they had still produced the Hawken rifle. And they kind of went out of favor in the late 1890s in favor of the development of cartridge rifles. And hey, if you had your choice between stuffing a cartridge in or doing this, uh, you're gonna use a cartridge rifle. These are kind of a novelty. I would say, in the early 1900s, not so much. They were just kind of a rifle that sat around, and I mean, there's some interesting people that owned them. The Jim Bridger and Kit Carson. Teddy Roosevelt owned it, and these were all original Hawken rifles. Uh, when the movie came out, Jeremiah Johnson, that movie was based probably loosely on a true story. And I can't remember the author's name, but I think the book was called The Crow Killer. And it was kind of about this John Jeremiah Johnson who had lived in the mountains and was at odds with some Crow Indians. So uh, at least partially some of it, but Hollywood takes great, uh, Hollywood. They take amperage at everything. They they probably exaggerated more from the reality of it than anything, because the wilderness where a lot of these men, uh, the action scenes that you've seen in the movie would have been far and few between. I mean, most of your life would have been very, very lonely. Uh, a little bit about this rifle. When I had decided that I wanted to do some muzzleloader hunting here in Pennsylvania, uh, I had bought a Thompson Center uh, Hawken rifle, and they were the Thompson Center had even come out with these rifles before the movie Jeremiah Johnson. I think they were a couple years previous, like 1970. Thompson Center had already been in the manufacturing, and they everybody knows they made these rifles in kits, but they had the brass adornment, the patch box, and the brass butt plate, and kind of like some brass fancies and a brass trigger guard. I really didn't stay to the true Hawken rifle, which was mostly made out of the wrought iron, the parts and pieces. So this is probably a truer representation of what the Hawken rifle would have been. Uh, I had the rifle. I liked the rifle, and I have no idea why I traded that rifle off. I just don't know. I mean, I think of all the dumb things I've done in my days, it's always something like that where I don't need that, and I swap it for something stupid, and I can't even remember what I traded it for. So that was anyway. When I wanted to get another one to hunt with, I talked to my buddy Steve, and there's Steve again. He had got one, and I think his was in 54 caliber. This is a 50, and I think the reason he wanted that is because in Pennsylvania, in the our muzzleloader season, you could only use a flintlock in the second season. I mean, it's not like now you can use inlines and everything in the first season. You still have to use flintlocks in the second season, and that's like the day after Christmas. And the other reason, you can only use round balls. You couldn't use conical balls. And the Thompson Center rifle had I think a 1 in 40 or 48 twist, and these Lyman rifles had a 1 in 66. So a slower twist rate, and they would shoot the ball ammunition, these 50 caliber balls, quite a bit more accurately, or so, everybody said. I have shot the thing at 100 yards, and I've seen Steve shoot his, and to be honest with you, they're amazingly accurate for what it is. And the round balls do shoot quite well out of these rifles. They work well out of the Thompson Center too. But that particular twist rate was kind of an in-betweener for the conical ball, like the mini ball, and then like the round ball. So I mean, it would shoot either. But this one was basically designed for shooting round balls, and in a traditional sense. You got here in front of me, you got to have your powder horn and your flash panner, your flash pan. Oh, geez, there was some in there. And your powder measure. You got to have some patches and balls and a ball starter. Of course, you got to have your GoX black powder. This is cartridge black powder. I have 4F powder for the flash pan, and this is just, I think it's a grind between maybe 2F and 3F, somewhere around in there. But I had a black powder cartridge rifle, 4570, which I didn't really care for, and I traded it off. I mean, those things doubled in price. I mean, there you go again. I mean, I could list you the things that I've traded off. It's ridiculous. But I did have one, and it was in 4570, and I was shooting 525 grain Postel bullets out of that rifle. And the idea, everything for me was to shoot the silhouettes, and they have the black powder cartridge rifle challenge in Ridgeway, and the recoil on a 525 grain bullet in a cartridge rifle was just, I mean, if you had a cold, it would just knock the snot right out of your nose. It just was not pleasant for me to shoot. And, I remember I went up, this is just a short story, I was up zeroing in at 100 yards, and these had the big, long vernier tang sight on the back and the globe front sight. And I had shot a couple shots, and they made a thunderous noise. And a guy sitting down 2 tables, I mean, I'd shoot, and he'd look, what's going on, and I'd shoot again. He winced, and he goes, wow, he says, that thing has got an explosion. I said, I'll tell you, buddy. I said, I ought to take this rifle right back and get my money back. I said, it's just no fun to shoot. And he laughed. He says, you're a better man than me. He says, that thing looks like it really pushes you off the bench. And I said, it doesn't have a very harsh kick, the black powder cartridge, but it does have a push. It pushes you pretty good. And it's just one of those things you shot 5 or 10 shots out of during competition. It started to give me a headache, and I'm not interested in shooting. I mean, you're not going to see me shooting 50 caliber Barretts and what's the best 300 Win Mag, and it's just not my thing. I mean, I like to shoot, and the last thing I want to do is go out and shoot things that I don't like to shoot. So there you go. It's not that I'm recoil shy. I'm dead calm, but I take the beating, and I've got the bruises to prove it. So, if you don't particularly like shooting the thing, then there's just no sense in that. This I do like. They don't have hardly any recoil to them. Like you're shooting a charge of, 80 grains to 100 grains of black powder. You got your patch, your ball, you stuff it down there, you load your flash pad. They go off pretty reliable. Unless you're like in a really damp or a rainy day, they go off pretty reliable. I have hunted with it. I've never really got a shot at a deer. And the reason I've never got a shot at a deer, and everybody can tell you this, is in Pennsylvania, after you've had pre-muzzleloader season in October, and then youth season with guns in October, and then archery season all in October, then you move into November gun season, where you got guys coming out of the woodwork, 800 to 1 million people out there hunting them, and then the deer go through all that stress, and then here comes you and your muzzleloader in December to go out in the woods, and the faintest crack of a stick out there at 500 yards away, the deer are just going bananas that way. So it's tough to see one. It can be done. Usually it's in closer quarters, around the it's probably more around town if you're going to hunt with one of these in legal areas than out in the big woods, because these deer are spooked beyond belief. So, I've seen deer at a glance, and I think you could hunt from a blind, and I did have my blind set up, but boy, I'll tell you, it's tough to see them, and when you do see them, it's usually just too dark to shoot. So, you do your best, and that's what you have. So this is the lyman. I enjoy shooting it. You got to have your possibles bag here. Let me get this off here. Yeah, the possible bag. You got to have your possibles bag here. You got to have your Bowie knife, right here, and it's just full of flints and extra garbage in there. That's, extra flints, and of course you have to have your bullet puller and cleaner, and your flash pan cleaner, and you got to have your bag full of bullets, balls, and there's other stuff in here. A little bit of butter for all that. Just oddball stuff, and that's what they call your possibles bag. Of course, all this stuff would go in, not the horn. The horn was just when I got the rifle, I thought, I've seen this at, I don't know if it was a gun show or a flea market, and I bought it for a couple bucks, and it looks good hanging on the wall. So that's pretty much mountain art. But the rifle, as you can see it here, has a pretty good rear sight. I'm not wild about the buckhorn sights. They do make a peep for it, but if I'm going to do that, I don't even think you could use a peep in traditional hunting. So I never put one on. They do sell one, or they did. Marbles did sell one. But you can, the sights are pretty good. And this one for my load is filed down a little bit, and it shoots good out to 100 yards. I don't have any problems with it. It does have a set trigger and a hair trigger. I could show you how that works. You can see the sparks here. And, that's how it works. And really nothing else to it. I mean, it's just an interesting old rifle. I hang on the wall. I don't really take it out that often to shoot. I've got a percussion revolver, and I bought it off a guy who needed the money. I bought it quite a few years ago, and I never shot it yet. So now I've had a 44 pistol, the Army revolver, and I shot that quite a bit when I was younger. You could buy those through the mail back in the 70s, and they didn't even ask. You could be 12 and buy one of those. And I got a picture of me and my brother. I'll put up here. That's if you look close enough, you can see I've got that. I wasn't very old, and I got that percussion revolver on my hip there. So I've been shooting these things for a lot of years, and that's kind of all there is to really say about the rifle. I know they're still being produced now. I think Investa Arms is the original manufacturer out of Italy. And then recently, I think Pedersoli had taken charge of making the Lyman Great Plain Rifle. I don't know if it's been discontinued. I heard it was discontinued, but I couldn't confirm that. I just don't think they're as popular. You got all the inline stuff now, and everybody's it's you could just like shooting with one of my regular rifles. None of this hocus pocus with the with the caulking and all that stuff. You can put a sabot down it, and you can put a little bolt, and you can put a scope on it. But these are the this is a traditional type rifle. I think it's kind of cool, but I to be honest with you, I don't like cleaning them. the process I clean, you know, my buddy Steve kind of showed me. He says, you want to make sure these things never rust, I'll show you. You got a bucket of hot soapy water. Of course, you take the barrel off, take the nipple out, and you just run your ramrod up and through there and just suck all that hot water and soap up through there and really soap them down, and then let them dry. You almost get a rusty haze on them, and then oil them up good. Then run a patch through there with oil on it, and that's how you store them. And you clean the parts out, and anything that the black powder touches, it'll rust. So you can see this one's still in pretty good shape, and I've had it for since the 1990s. So that's how you take care of them. And it's kind of a pain in the butt, and it's smelly, and you know, even worse than doing it in the summertime is, you know, in winter in January, having to come home and go out in the garage and fill up a bucket of hot water and start soaping the thing down. But you know, that's just how you have to, really, in my opinion, that's how you have to clean them. If you got a better idea, write it down in the comments below. If you have one of these rifles and you have any different experiences with them, put it in the comments below. And appreciate you watching my video. And have a great day. I will see you next time.